Hey, what it do, what it do? It is your girl, Pretty Sexy Driver the Brand, aka Started Assassin and Assassin family. Thank y'all for showing the love, showing the support, and always coming through to check out the reviews and the recaps. I truly appreciate y'all so much. You guys, I just want to thank y'all for showing the love. And like I said, we've came to 243 in subscribers over here, a part of the Assassin family. And I'm just so blessed and honored to have you guys to be with me along on this journey. But since I do have a little bit of news to give y'all, and then we're gonna jump into the review and get into Heart and Hustle Houston episode 2, which is titled The Good, the Bad, and the Fine. But first, let me give y'all this little quick brief detail message. So Assassins, as you know, I have my GoFundMe and I'm going to have the link to it in the bottom. So if you guys would like to donate to help me relocate and move to a new city and start my life over, you are more than welcome to. No matter how much you donate, I'm greatly appreciative of it all. And also, Assassins, have you guys been following Run with Sin over on her TikTok, over on Instagram, and over on Twitter? Because I've been giving my girl her shout outs and letting y'all know when she stream live. So y'all, Assassins, make sure y'all tap in, show the love, and let Run with Sin know that I've been sending her y'all way. But yes. Assassins, thank y'all for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And telling a friend to tell a friend is all I can ask that you continue to do and show the love and support. And Assassins, the ladies from Heart and Hustle of Houston have been liking some of my posts, which I'm gonna put in this video. So y'all make sure y'all tag the OWN network to let them know that your girl, can be a hostess. Ask the questions, get into the gigs. But y'all, we are finna get into our review of episode 2 of Heart and Hustle Houston, which is titled The Good, the Bad, and the Fine. And we finna see what our girls is finna get into in episode 2. So yes. As we open up the Heart and Hustle of Houston episode 2, our opening scene is with our girl, Miss Elena. And Miss Elena has been in business with her husband since they've been married. And so now Miss Elena is opening up her own beauty bar and lounge, which she's had one before, but this time she's opening up one all alone and by herself and with her own independence. And you can just tell it is bringing Miss Elena so much joy. But while she is there looking at her new space, she also has called her husband Chris to stop by and come and see it and see her new lounge. And when they come in, they exchange pleasantries, and she tells him where she's gonna do some setting up and where her name and logo is gonna be. And then she said, "Well, let's come on, let's sit down in the lounge area and have a little talk." And it's like as soon as she said, "Let's sit down and have a talk," you could feel there was a shift in the energy in the conversation. And Miss Alana was just saying to her husband, baby, look, I have my own baby, I have my own independence. And she says, for once, this is not something I have to share with my husband. And her husband was kind of like, yeah, I'm glad this is you're getting and having. He said, you gonna have your own space and you're gonna do your own thing. He said, it makes it better for our marriage and our relationship. And that is when Miss Alina shares, they've been married 15 years, but some things have went on, some things has happened, and she doesn't have the same amount of trust. But you know, her husband Chris then expresses to her and says, as a couple, they go through seasons of marriage where they're not as close as they once were, and them having this conversation, you can tell is unpacking a lot of topics and a lot of emotions, and it's bringing them both to a very vulnerable place. Come on, Heart and Hustle, Houston. This how you open up an episode. So yes. Y'all, as we get into our the next scene, it is our girl, Miss Paige. And today is content shooting day. And we find out that Miss Page gave up her job over a year ago to go into full time content creation. And Miss Page, hats off to you. And girl, I'm loving the vibe, the organization, the colors. It's just giving the vibe, okay? She's getting her girls ready for their shoot, for their family shoot. She says, it's just a regular content shooting day. This is not a brand deal day. And it's honestly very beautiful to see. And while she's getting her girls together, she is also trying to tell her husband about what all has to be done throughout their day. And he's like, "Oh, you talking to me? I didn't know you was talking to me." She's like, "Oh, yes, I'm talking to you." Very cute moment. And then we go down to them actually having the shoot, but we also find out from Miss Page that her mother stays with her, and she says it sometimes feels like there is 200 people in her house because her girls, her mom, and her husband. And then she says her mom and her husband kind of have like a little rocky relationship, but she wears many hats and tries to manage it all while as she possibly can. So, we get to see them take pictures, do the shoot, and it's giving a vibe. It's giving very much so black family, black wealth, black excellence. Get into it. And, while they're doing the shoot, Miss Page then pulls her husband to the side and she asks the photographer just to take pictures of the girls and her husband. They have a sidebar conversation and they talk. And, while they're having this sidebar conversation, her husband tells her he really is proud of her and everything that she's doing and the hard work that she's putting in and the calls that she has to make and the people that she has to talk to. And when you're in this world of content creation, yes, you do have to do a lot of self presentation, and it does take a lot. But when you have the team and the support, things can get done. It can get accomplished. And our girl Miss Page starts to cry, and I can understand because to hear someone that you love tell you that they support you and that everything that they see you for what you're doing is very, very beautiful. But Miss Page asks her mother to come over and kind of, help the girls while she's having this conversation. But the next thing her girls then flip the camera on her and her husband, and we get like light little laughter, and we have a family moment. And then we go over into the next day, and it's Miss Page and her husband talking in the kitchen. Okay, and they're having this conversation, and they're talking, and Miss Page is just expressing, what's been going on, how she feels. And then y'all, as we go from that scene, is to our next scene, and it is with our girl Miss Rowe, and we are actually meeting Miss Rowe's daughter and hearing about, you know, Miss Rowe being a mom and just getting to see her in one-on-one action. And as we see Miss Rowe and her daughter, and they're having their one-on-one time, um, Miss Rowe expresses to her daughter, or asks her daughter, "Hey, what does she think about moving, or does she like where they're staying?" And her daughter says, "Yeah, she don't want to move. She like where they live at." And Miss Rowe was like, "Well, we're gonna have to move again when something bigger and better comes along." And they're just outside working on her basketball game. And Miss Rowe then opens up and begins to tell us, about her leaving Victory a few weeks ago, and just about how it was making her feel like she was a robot and she didn't really have any time, and they weren't taking her personal feelings in life into consideration. And yes, she is still helping out there, but she is still in the stage of making a transition. And so she shares with her daughter that she's had a conversation with God. And her daughter says, she's been talking to praying to God too about things and situations. But then they get into this conversation about Miss Rose's daughter being bullied at school and just about what's been going on in that situation, and asking her daughter, like, has she been? Has things been? And her daughter says things have been cool. And Miss Rowe gives her daughter some really good advice. No matter how nice you are, no matter how kind you are, sometimes people just are not going to like you. And it's a them thing, not your thing. And I love that. Come on, Miss Rowe. So yes, y'all. As we get into our next scene, it is our girl Miss Page, and it's date night between her and her hubby. And baby Miss Page says she wants to take them to a cooking class because she says her husband always does the cooking, and she says, she wants to switch things up and she wants to start doing a little bit more cooking for him. So tonight is the first step by them having date night at this cooking class, and baby, they are dressed from head to toe. Baby, very nice. Solo one on one, just them time. No kids, no family. So I think it's very beautiful to see. And as they get into this class and they meet their instructor, of course, Miss Page's husband starts cracking jokes. And making little light remarks, and Miss Page is laughing because she knows it's all in good love and good play. And tonight they're having salmon, um, some kale and rice. Okay, baby, they finna eat good. And they get into their cooking session, and while they're getting into their cooking station, they talk about, when was the last time Miss Page talked to her father, which was just a week before. And, she expresses to her husband that she always feels like she's in the middle of her mom and her dad because they did divorce when she was young, and her mom does live with them. She has to take her feelings into consideration when, she does talk to her dad, and just how her mom may feel personally because things did not work out. And she said she always in the middle, and she said just like she's in the middle of her mom and her dad, she's also in the middle of her husband and her mom. And so she comes up with this idea and asks her husband to have a one-on-one date night with her mom, like he and her just had. And her husband was kind of like, wait. Now he said he's gonna do it, but he had to think for a second. He was like, babe, we barely ever get time for just you and I, and now you want me to have you, I, and your mom. And she was like, no, I just want you to go out with my mom. And she's like, maybe you can break that ice, break that tension. And I'm like, yeah, that could actually be very, very key. But the date has went very well. The night is going very well. But guys, we go from that scene to our next scene. It's our girl, Miss Rowe, Miss Labrina, and Miss Page, and they are meeting up. And the ladies are having some drinks at the bar. So yes. It's our ladies. They're meeting up at the bar. They start off with a nice cheers. The ladies open up in conversation. Miss Page, shares the ladies. Her and her husband went out on their date night, and she was cooking for them. And baby, then the ladies start talking about relationships and having double dates, and of course our girl Miss Rowe opens up about, you know, she's single, baby. She was like, she never thought love would ever be a thing. She's always been like focused about bettering her life, making sure, she she gets what she gotta get to, which a lot of women do. And honestly, Miss Rose, you are not alone in that fight. It's a lot of women that, they get in their career and it just be like, love is whatever. It'll come when it comes, it'll happen when it happens. But then not only do we get into that conversation, then Miss Labrina asks Miss Rowe, about her daughter's father. And Miss Rowe opens up and she shares, that when she was pregnant with her daughter, um, her her child's father was indicted, and he went from being a millionaire to like having $500, and it really changed him. But she doesn't hold it against him because things happened that occurred. She said, but it also affected her, and it's like her first pregnancy, and it just was a lot for her to take on. And oh my God, they're crying, which is gonna make me cry because this is you can feel the heaviness from this and like the impact it really had on this role, and you can see that the ladies are really being there for her, and they're hugging her and they're letting her know that a lot was going on. You done been through a lot, but it's okay because you're stronger now. And this is what I love to see: the sisterhood, the bond, the love, the dearness. They got the girl tissue, and they just encouraging her and giving her words and speaking life into her. And that is very beautiful. And y'all, as we leave out of that scene and get ready to go into our next scene. So yes, y'all. As we get into our next scene, it is our girl, Miss Page. We are at her beautiful home, and Miss Page is having a conversation with her mom, and just catching up and letting her know, about her date night with her hubby, and also, what they discussed about them actually having conversation and spending some time together and really just talking. And you know Miss Page's mom says, it's okay, everything's okay, everything's fine. They're both are quiet. Miss Page's like, Mom, y'all both are literally like the same person, y'all act so similar. And I think that it's very interesting that Miss Page is, you know telling her mom, but also understanding both parties' expressions and feelings. But y'all, as we go from that scene to our next scene, Miss Chloe's like, okay. And while her and the girls are out there, some more of her husband and her family shows up to help them celebrate um, the the twins' father's birthday. And the twins share that they miss their daddy's cooking, and we get a very emotional speech from Miss Chloe. And you know, I appreciate Miss Chloe for just her strength and just to be able to share this story with us. I think it's very beautiful, and I think it's going to help a lot of other families that have young children that have witnessed or experienced grief, because I lost my father at a young age. So I completely know that it's not easy for anyone in the situation. But y'all, as we go from that scene to our next scene, and when we get into our next scene, y'all, it is our girl, Miss Page, and she's at home, honey, working on some things on the computer. And the next thing you know, she gets a call, and it's our girl, Miss Labrina. And baby, the ladies are catching up and kicking and talking. And baby, Miss Labrina says, let's get the girls together and let's go to the rodeo, to the black rodeo. If girl, and have some fun and open up and relax. I was like, okay, the girls finna go have some time. All right. So yes, y'all. We get into our next scene, and baby, it is the ladies at the rodeo. They walking in slow mo, giving very black Charlie's Angels. You see us, you see we popping, we out here in these rodeo streets, and baby, while they are doing their walk up to the rodeo, baby, our girl Miss I'm sorry, y'all. Some car had came down my street, but then our girl, Miss Latoya, bumps into some fine journalist man, baby. She didn't work with before he got his grill in. And she giving her hugs and the giggles, and everybody's just catching the tea and catching the vibe and the energy. And I'm like, okay, Miss Latoya Barrow, we need to go ahead and like our girl, Miss Chloe said, drop that wall and get it on out there, because he was fine. I'm not gonna lie. I need you to go with him, girl. I need you to hit his line. But after that, the ladies go on into the rodeo, baby. They take their seats and they had themselves a good time. They rocking and moving. The crowd is lit. It's just a whole vibe. And then, baby, while they're there, the ladies decide to go to the animal farm. Let's go see the baby animals. Let's go see the goats. Let's go see who's out, what's out. Let's get around. And so the ladies go play and pet with the goats, and they take pictures. It's fun, it's laughs, it's kiki. But then they get leave from out of the barn and they head outside because the ladies like they want to go get them something to eat and something to drink. And baby, the next thing you know, while our girls is outside, Miss Elena says that she wants to talk to Chloe about her comment that she made about her husband not being fine. So baby, they go over to the bar, Miss Elena and Chloe, and baby, let's just say Miss Elena was like, so yeah, Chloe, the comment that you made, I just didn't think it had like a lot of taste. What you said about my husband. And the kind of comment that you made, and she was like, "Girl, he's not fine. He ain't fine to me. I mean, he might fine to you. He ain't fine to me." And she was like, "But for you to even say that," she was like, "Oh my gosh." She was like, "What if I was to say somebody you dated not fine?" She was like, but girl, when I say fine, I'm talking about like muscles. What are you talking about? Baby, long story short, the conversation ends with laughs and giggles, but Miss Chloe is like, girl, if you was offended because I said your husband went fine, well, maybe you need to, maybe because you don't think he fine, maybe you need, I'm like, Miss Chloe, I thought the ladies were having a good kiki. I thought the ladies were having a good time. But then y'all, we go from that moment and that scene to our next scene. Our girl, Miss Latoya, is walking out and walking around, and she runs into this lady named Miss Victoria. Um, and she's like, she knows her, but she says she doesn't know where she knows her from. She's like, she does know a lot of people. She's like, maybe I know her from college, maybe I know her from work event, maybe I know her from social media. I'm not sure how I know her, but okay, she says we're friends. And so they're just walking around talking. And, Miss Latoya invites Miss Victoria to like join her and the ladies while they go get drinks. And, they go inside. And I'm going to say this when Miss Latoya brought Victoria in, I'm going to say this Miss Rose was fine, that lady, like she knew her. And I don't know that her and that lady got beef. I don't know if she know that lady or not. But, baby, she was just giving energy like how I be giving sometimes. Like when people be bringing people around, I'm like, girl, who is this? Why is you? Okay, girl, I'm gonna see how they gonna be. But my spidey senses on the inside is tingling and telling me, no, 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 no. Okay. And they sit down, and the other ladies, they introduce themselves, they shake hands, they get into this talk, baby. Miss Victoria and Miss Chloe kind of have like a back and forth about being a cougar, about what a cougar is, about being a sugar baby. It was just a lot of tea in this moment and in this scene. But y'all, she does get up and she does leave, and our girl, Miss Chloe and Miss Latoya get up and they go to the bar. And baby, baby, Miss Latoya and Chloe get over to this bar. They ask for a shot of vodka, double shot of vodka actually. And then baby, we get into, Miss Chloe telling Miss Latoya about Elena confronting her about her comment about her husband not being fine. And she was like, girl, I didn't know if I was gonna have to take my boxing gloves out, pull my boots out. And she was like, I didn't know what it was gonna be. But then she said, it really wasn't nothing that big. It's something so small because I got a whole bunch of other things going on right now. I really didn't take it this serious. And baby, that is when Miss Latoya expresses to Miss Chloe that Miss Elena shared when she came over to her house, that she couldn't pull a man like Josh. And that's when Miss Chloe said, baby, I wouldn't want a man like Josh. Josh ain't even my type. And she's like, girl, you can't say. She was like, I'm just being honest. She said, well, I'm just saying. And baby, she turned and walked from this spot. Oh my gosh, y'all, Heart and Hustle Houston, episode 2, the good, the bad, and the fine. Thank y'all on network. Oh my gosh, your girl truly appreciates this. This is good reality, authentic TV. Shout out to the ladies for the job well done. Y'all, it's been your girl, Pretty Six Yard Brand, aka Stone and Sexy. Until next time, y'all be safe. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye bye.